Okay, hello, I'm Alexis. I'm actually a gap year student, so I finished high school. I'll be talking about our Hindi courses and the point of the program. So within school, we spend about 2 hours and 15 minutes a day in Hindi class specifically. Our class time is generally focused on conversational Hindi. Our teacher will often come into class and then see something, and then our entire lesson will then be based off what he saw. So that's always really, really fun, because sometimes we have some really weird things to talk about, like bats and, just stuff like that. We do sometimes have lessons on grammar and specific cultural topics. We do have to ask a lot more to get very specific grammar lessons, but it does happen. It's really fun, and Rajapati sir really enjoys our questions. Rajapati sir is our teacher, by the way, sorry. We have a class every day with a different teacher who tends to teach us about festivals, actually, because there's so many festivals in India that we are often, there's always a festival to prepare for, especially this month. We just had Dussehra, and now we're preparing for Diwali. So she generally teaches us about the festival in English, and then we transfer to talking about it in Hindi. So it's very useful, because when you go home, your host family is going to really appreciate you being able to talk to them about their festival, and that is always very appreciated. There is a blend between Indian and American styles of teaching. So Nicole was kind of touching on how we tend to, in actual academic courses at school, teachers will be very, very blunt about students' grades, and that does. Rajapati will announce our test scores to each other and stuff like that. However, we are still kind of we're on the same level as Rajapati sir in the classroom. So she described it in academic classes as if the students 100% look up to their teacher and we respect our teachers. But here we sort of are able to ask questions and even disagree with Rajapati sir occasionally, which is always really, really fun. So there's definitely a blend of the strict style of Indian teaching and the kind of more laid-back style of American teaching. So we go on a lot of trips here, and it's really quite the learning experience. Rajapati sir will sit on a bus with us for an hour and a half, and for that entire hour and a half, he will have something to tell us about Hindi. So we will be driving down the street, and he'll see a specific temple, and he'll tell us about that temple in English and in Hindi, and it's really quite educational and overwhelming sometimes. But we definitely get the most out of trips in regards to Hindi learning. We also occasionally go on smaller trips in our host city, Indore, and use what we've learned in class specifically in the city. So one of the first things we did when we came to India, actually, was we had a few lessons on food, fruit and vegetables, and then we just kind of instantly, that second or third week here, went to a fruit market and tried very hard to purchase vegetables, and it may have been a disaster, but it was a lot of your learning is going to happen through mistakes that you make, so it was actually going to happen good in the long run, but very overwhelming. So as with most languages, the vast majority of the learning you're going to do is going to be through speaking. I want to add on to something Zoe was touching on. The people you spend the vast majority of your time with outside of school, I mean. And so a lot of your learning is going to happen through speaking with them, and they all have different sort of expectations of how you speak. So that's nice. My family tends to want me to speak full sentences. Indian culture is very high context is how we've been described. So they like to really understand everything that's happening. So if my host mother were to ask me, "Are you hungry?" I can't just say no. I have to say, "No, I'm not hungry." And then generally she wants an explanation for why not. So that's just something you get used to. And at first it was very overwhelming because I felt like I couldn't speak to my family, but actually it's getting a lot better now. So, you have to work with your family. And then Nicole was touching on how you sort of need to push for conversations with your peers at school. Everyone at our school speaks English, and while they're very willing to help you learn Hindi and help you speak Hindi, it can be a bit of a challenge to get them to actually speak Hindi with you, since we are still learning and all of that. A lot of it comes from you, and a lot of it comes from pushing everyone to speak Hindi with you. And it gets easier as you learn more, but it is difficult, but it's worth it, and that's where our best learning comes from, so it's fine. So now we're supposed to talk about our language learning goals. Personally, I want to be able to communicate, I want to use what I learned here in India to communicate better with the community here, but also with my community at home. there's a big population of Indians in my neighborhood at home, and so I feel that it will help me connect more deeply with my community at home if I can speak Hindi with them. I think they would very much appreciate that, and so yes.
So I have a similar goal to Alexis, and I agree with her in that. I want to be able to use my Hindi speaking ability when I get back to the States as well, because I do have some friends and other students at my school who speak Hindi, so that would be super exciting to be able to speak with them, but also to really be able to understand and easily communicate with my Indian friends and family here. So to be able to join in on all the conversations my Indian friends are having with each other here, and to have the similar kind of conversations I have with my siblings, my host siblings in English, to be able to have them in Hindi, and especially really be able to connect and learn and talk to my host mom, because she only speaks Hindi, as I mentioned before.
So my language learning goals are just like everyone else's, just like to become fluent and be able to express myself and understand others' emotions in a new way, because learning a second language definitely opens you up to different perspectives of other people in a different culture, and especially to joke with my family and friends. My family makes a lot of jokes from Hindi to English. They'll use Hindi words that sound like English words to convey one message, and sometimes I don't really get it because I won't know what the Hindi words mean. So it's really interesting to be able to play with two different languages like that, and I definitely want to be able to do that. So then next is our favorite Hindi words and phrases. So hello, namaste, that's a common one. See ya is fair malenge. You can say kol fair malenge if you want to say see you tomorrow. We use that with a lot of our Hindi teachers. So let's go is chalo, and chale is the question form. So it's like your family will say chale and you'll say chalo. It's used very, very often. It's one of the first Hindi words that I learned just by hearing it.
So another one that you hear a lot of is TK, which is okay, and it's used very much as a sort of a filler in a conversation. So when someone, maybe your host mom, is just telling you why you need to eat more, you'll just keep saying TK, TK, TK. And another filler you get a lot of sentences, but I think it happens a little less than TK, is acha, which just means good or okay. And so it can be used as like okay in a filler, but it also just does mean good, like this food is good.
So in this chart right here, you can see on the left is the English word, in the middle is the transliteration, so how it's pronounced, and then on the right is the actual Hindi Devanagari script. Yeah, and I think that's it for us.
Yeah. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope this gives you more insight into the NSLI Hindi program.